welcome to This Week in Travel. I'm your host, Michelle Robson, and editor of Turning Left for Less. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see in the background that I'm in the beautiful Douro Valley near Porto in Portugal. This week I'm going to be talking about how you can find cheap hotel nights, not only just using points, but also how to search for them and what tricks you can use to get cheaper prices.
So we'll take a look at the Google hotel option now, which you may not be aware of. I think a lot of people know about Google Flights, but maybe not so much about the Google hotel option. There are a couple of ways to find this. The first you can do is if you know what hotel you want to stay in, then you can just type into Google the name of the hotel, and then you should see on the right hand side of the search results something that gives some pricing for the hotels. The other option is to go to the google.com travel and select hotels, and then you can actually look at more of an overview of different hotels in a particular place. But both of them work in pretty much exactly the same way. So I've gone to the Google travel option to have a look at London, which is obviously one of the most difficult places to find a decent priced hotel. So you can see at the top here, that's where you put in what place you want to look at and your dates, then how many people, and then there's quite a few filters that you can use. So under £100 you can put in a rating in terms of that's the Google rating, and then also what the official rating is, and then things like spa, pool, etc. So once you've done that, you can see you get a map on the right hand side which shows you all the prices of hotels, and that's quite useful if you're not quite sure where you want to stay. I find this pretty good, particularly if you then zoom in on the map itself, and then you can sort of narrow it down to a particular area of London, for example, and you can see all the prices at a very quick glance. So I find this a good starting point if you don't quite know what you're looking for. So if we take one in particular here, let's go for the St James's Hotel that it's showing there, and we'll click on that, and I'll just show you what I think is the most useful feature. So once you've got this, it will show you all the different prices that are available. You'll notice there's often quite a few hotel sites you've never heard of. Personally, I would not use any of them without checking the reviews first, because there could be all sorts of problems with it. So don't be sucked in by the cheap price. Make sure you do your homework on the agent that you're booking with. And I would also say I'll be covering some other ways to save money, so never click through from something like this or TripAdvisor to book the price that you see, because that is the standard price. It's not they've got a special price on from Expedia, and there are ways that you can actually save money on top of that. So I use this as a research tool to decide where I want to stay first, based on price and where it is, and then I'll do a bit more research on whether the particular hotel gets good reviews, and also what else I can save in terms of money on top of that. So you can see this part where it shows the check-in dates. This is the interesting part. Now if you click on it, you'll see it comes up with what looks like a blank list, but actually if you wait for a moment or two, you will see all the prices appear. Now this is the really useful bit. It's exactly the same as Google Flights. So if you're a bit flexible on your dates, you can use this to find the cheapest date to stay. Now I find this particularly useful if I'm doing a multi-centre holiday. So if I'm going somewhere with more than two destinations, or more than one destination I should say, I can look at this and look actually, do I want to go to the first destination at the start of the holiday? Because actually it might be, for example, that a city is cheaper at a weekend, but in fact, something that's more of a tourist place is cheaper during the week. So you can have a look at what's the best dates, and I use this to do that. The only thing I would caution is obviously when you look at what the best dates are, as you can see from this list here that came up before with all the different things, it's mainly showing you the best prices on a sort of aggregator sites like Expedia, online agent. So it's not necessarily the cheapest price, because perhaps if it's an independent hotel like this one, you could get a cheaper price with their website, but their website isn't actually connected to Google. So I would just bear that in mind. But as I said, it's what I would generally use as my starting point to choose what date I'm going and get a rough idea of prices and where the hotels are. Once I've found the hotel that I want and I've got a rough price for it, if I, for example, have found one that's available on Expedia, hotels.com, then the next thing I will do is look at cashback sites. Looking at these, I would generally use Top Cashback first. The reason that I would say that is because Top Cashback gives you Avios. and I prefer to do that than take the cash, just because it's a way of almost buying Avios reasonably cheaply. And it feels like I'm not really parting with money, because obviously I haven't actually put a hand in my own pocket. I've used the top cashback to convert, and you do get a slight bonus. It's only 5% more than taking it as cash, but every little helps. So that's what I use top cashback for. So once you come here, you can type in the name of whichever thing you're looking for example Expedia, and then it will show you what's available. So for Expedia currently there's up to 10% cashback. If you look down, it obviously varies by which individual thing, but they've got 8% on hotel bookings. Now, I view this as pretty good. Generally, I would be trying to aim somewhere between 10 to 15% on a hotel booking, but I think 8% is reasonable, so I'd probably go that's okay for me. But you might want to also check the other one, which is called Core in particular. Now, we were looking at Expedia, but if you look at a lot of the hotel brands, they are actually featured as well. And Accor are probably one of the best ones. So we'll have a look at Accor, which goes under All, which is Accor Live Limitless, which used to be Accor Hotels. And quite often they can have up to 15%, which is really good cashback. And this one definitely does vary between top cashback and Quidco. It does seem to sort of alternate between the two, so always check both. So if we have a look at the moment, it's showing 10%, which is actually better. If you, for example, was going to book something through Expedia, it would be better to book it direct with Accor, because they have 10% cash back on some of the premium brands like Sofitel. So again, you have to do your research here, because you can see it does vary a lot by different hotel chains. So in fact, actually, if you wanted to book something like the Raffles Hotel or Fairmont, you can see with here it's only 3%. So you'd be better booking through top cashback and using something like Expedia that's 8% if the price was pretty much the same. So I would definitely be comparing that as well. I would also look at Quidco. That's the other one that I use, as well as top cashback. Quidco you can't convert into Avios, but there are some other things that you can convert into, such as Uber, where you get a bonus. So it's always worth looking at what the bonus conversions are for taking your cash out. So I always compare the two, because quite often they do vary, not by a huge amount, but 1 or 2%, you may as well use the one that's easiest. So let's have a look on this one. Expedia, most of them do have exactly the same brands on each one, but not always. So this one says up to 10% as well, but we'll have a look and see what it says. So this one's got various different things that it's offering special offers, so it's worth having a look through any of those in case you wanted to perhaps book a flight with it as well, though I generally would not say booking a flight with Expedia is a good idea unless it happens to be an agent only flight. So you can see here it's exactly the same, so it's 8% cashback. So I would then be looking probably to, on my part, to be using top cashback, because as I said, I'd rather get the Avios than just the cash. But obviously it's up to you, whichever you prefer. And I would also say both offer a premium membership, which is pretty low in price. I think it's about £5, but it means you get extra cashback on everything. So if you're going to actually be using it a lot, which I do, I think I've probably earned about £3,000 to £4,000 in cashback at least by using these sites, then it's worth paying that yearly premium to get the extra cash back. So then basically, if you wanted to book through Expedia and get your cashback, you literally just click on cashback. It will take you to exactly the normal Expedia site, and then you just book as you would normally. And then just make sure that you don't close the window or do anything funny. Literally just go straight there with the link and book straight away. Because if you start doing things where you're closing and reopening it, etc., then it can mean that it doesn't get tracked and you don't get the cashback. So just be a little bit careful with that. The other thing that I'll also mention now, because we're kind of talking about booking through a booking window, is I would also say about the British Airways e-store, as I call it. Now this offers Avios instead of cashback, and there's a number of different companies on there, including some of the bigger booking sites, and it does include booking.com and also Marriott. So definitely, if you would rather have Avios, you might want to compare between top cashback and the British Airways store just to see which is the best rate, because if you want Avios, sometimes it's better to book through the BA one, particularly if they've got one of their offers where it's double points. So have a look at both of those and then you're ready to book. I'll mention using a luxury travel agent. So you may well know that Turning Left for Less has an agreement with GTC, who are one of the biggest collections in the world of independent luxury agents. And what these agents do is they can give you extra perks. I have talked about this a bit more in detail on a previous episode, so I'll link that below, where I talked to Debbie, who is one of the GTC agents, about all the benefits you can get. But I thought, since we're talking about saving on hotels, it would be worth just recapping and also mentioning about the American Express version. So if you book through GTC, they will book with a lot of independent hotels that are part of the Virtuoso network, which is a luxury hotel booking network. And they also have their own program called Select. And then any luxury hotel that you can think of that's part of a chain, they generally have some sort of special agreement. So there's Hyatt, which they have the Hyatt Privé scheme, they have the Mandarin Oriental fans, they have a Hilton Impresario, they have Marriott has 2 different schemes. Now, these schemes are specifically for luxury travel agents. I can't phone up and go, I would like the Hilton Impresario rate. It's only available to book through these agents. And I know a lot of people worry about, if they're a member of the frequent stay program, that they won't get their points or they won't get their status night credit, but actually it's exactly the same as booking direct. So it's really worthwhile looking at these deals, because it can save you a lot of money depending on where you're going. So each scheme varies slightly, but the sort of things you can expect would be a free breakfast, $100 hotel credit. Sometimes you can use it for anything in the hotel. Sometimes it's just for the spa or something specific, but normally it's for food and drink and the spa. And then also things like early check-in and late check-out and room upgrades. So some really great perks there. If you think about perhaps going to the US, where breakfast isn't included, it can be really expensive, especially somewhere like Hawaii, where breakfast can run to sort of $50 plus per person. So having free breakfast can save you a lot of money if you would normally eat it, as well as getting that hotel credit. So I would definitely always be asking for a quote if you're using one of the higher end chain hotels, like I've mentioned. Most of these rates are normally refundable and fully flexible. So you're paying the rate that you would normally pay with the hotel if you book direct on their flexible rate. So it's not going to cost you more unless you would normally book an advanced purchase rate. But quite often, if you work it out, it actually works out cheaper to do it this way. One way you can do it, which is a little bit sneaky, is to book, perhaps if you're having a long stay, one person books and then the other person in the party books the second half of the stay in a different name, and that way you get your $100 twice. But I didn't say that. Just worth bearing that in mind if you want to really save the money. And it's also worth comparing with the FHR scheme. Now, that's part of American Express when you have a platinum card. They have their own scheme, which is similar. It doesn't have quite the same perks, in that it doesn't give you the perks of status like the Impresario, etc. does, because with them it's like booking direct with the hotel. And in fact, with Hilton Impresario, I should have mentioned, you get double Hilton points. Another good reason to book with them. But FHR do a similar scheme. It's not exactly the same, and the benefits vary from what you would get booking through GTC. About the only thing I would say is, if you desperately want a late checkout and you want it guaranteed, on FHR that's more often guaranteed. So definitely worth comparing between the two if that's what you had in mind. But otherwise, the benefits are broadly similar. The only difference is that you're booking online using FHR generally, whereas with GTC you're dealing with a person that can obviously do things like special requests, etc. You can book through Amex Travel if you want to phone up, but obviously again that's making a phone call, whereas GTC you can just do it by email if you want. And just to draw your attention to the fact that you can actually use the booking form on turningleftforless.com, and you put in all your details about what hotel you would like, and then GTC will come back to you and give you a quote. So I will link that below as well if you want to have a look. You can see it's just will ask you the basics of what you want, and they can also add things like transfers or a flight if you wanted as well, so you could have it all as one package, which makes life easier.
I would also say it's always worth looking at the hotel website direct, whether it's a chain hotel or whether it's an independent hotel. So in terms of chain hotels, you should go to the hotel's website and look at how much it is if you're a member of their hotel loyalty scheme. Now these are pretty much always free, so it's always worth joining and then seeing what it lowers the price by, because pretty much all of them will give you a discount somewhere between 5 and 10%, and they also give you some other things like free Wi-Fi, for example. So it's definitely worth comparing the prices between that and something like Expedia or hotels.com if you're thinking of trying to get your loyalty bonus on there with the number of nights. So definitely compare the two. With independent hotels, quite often they'll have their own special offers, and also sometimes if you sign up for the newsletter, you will often get again around 10%. So definitely have a little delve into that, because some of my best bargains have come from actually booking direct with an independent hotel and looking at that. I would also recommend looking at buying points. Even if you don't actually collect points with the hotel itself, it's always worth it. So I would definitely be waiting until there was an offer on. So Marriott, IHG and Hilton always do buy points offers on a very regular basis. Normally, probably I'd say at least every other month. And the bonuses can vary from 100% to around 40%. And normally when I write about them on Turning Left for Less, I'll try and give you an idea if it's something exceptional or not very good. It's normally only worth buying points if the hotel is really expensive, but I'll give you an example, because I've been looking at actually getting a hotel in Venice, and I was looking at some of the more upmarket ones, shall we say, with Marriott. So for example, the Gritti Palace, which is one of the top hotels in Venice, that was going to be £1,143 for one night, which is absolutely crazy. However, if you looked at buying the points, that pretty much halved it. And that's with the current 50% bonus that's on. So it's definitely worth it. Anything, I'd say probably getting over around £400 a night. Definitely worth looking if there's an offer on, whether it's worth buying the points. Now, the only thing I would say with this is obviously make sure that it's available for the date that you want, and don't hang around. If you're going to do it, check immediately before you buy the points that your hotel's available, and then book it immediately afterwards, because you wouldn't want to buy all the points and then find that actually the hotel price is doubled or something like that. So yeah, definitely worth looking at buying points, even if it's just a top up, or perhaps also you could look at, have you got some points somewhere else, for example in American Express membership rewards, because you can transfer that into Marriott and Hilton. Are there some points somewhere else you could use to top up, or perhaps use some of those and then buy some on top of that, because that can really help with when hotel prices are very expensive. I spoke in the programme earlier about using Google Hotels, which works very similar to Google Flights, in that it's a good way to actually search by price, and it will show you a good comparison of different booking sites. Now, there are other alternatives to these, but I generally don't find them as good. I think TripAdvisor isn't bad actually, because although theirs slightly different to Google, it does have a kind of a heat map of hotel prices, which I find quite useful, again if you're being flexible. So it will show you green, amber and red on the hotel prices when you look at a chart of the dates. So that obviously shows you which are the most expensive dates, but it doesn't have the actual prices. Once you select it, then it will show the prices, and again it has a good range of different booking sites online, including direct with the hotel a lot of the time, as does Google Hotels. So you can have a look at that. Generally they tend to have the same sites on there, but it's not always the same. But if you're on TripAdvisor anyway looking at reviews, then maybe it's quicker to just go in and look at that. There are other ones like Hotel Combined and Trivago, etc. But I don't tend to bother with these because I don't think they're really necessary when you can go through Google Hotels, or if you're on TripAdvisor, use that. So yeah, generally I wouldn't, because I'm not going to use one of the smaller companies. Usually I would, if I was going to book with an agent and not do it through GTC, I would use a well-known company that has good reviews like Expedia, Booking.com, or Agoda I sometimes use as well. So yeah, just use a bit of caution and don't spend too long looking at all the different sites, because they generally pretty much all have the same information. My final tips are to look for special offers. So I mentioned GTC earlier, and they have special offers through Hilton Impresario and IHG usually. Now these are long stay offers. Usually it's buy three for the price of 2, but sometimes hotels will require you to stay a bit longer. So for example, you can stay 5 nights for the price of 4. But if you're doing a longer stay, these really do save some substantial amounts of cash. So it's always worth checking with GTC to see if they've got that offer on, because you won't see those offers anywhere else. They're not going to be on the Hilton website normally. They're definitely not going to be on something like Expedia. So I would always check and see what's available, and obviously subscribe to Turning Left for Less, because all those sort of offers we always publish and give you the full details. So definitely worth considering if you're staying longer, looking for offers. A couple of other ones I'll mention is the Marriott Stay Longer. So that's saving usually 20%, and that's available if you book with Marriott. It should come up if it's available. You don't need to have any special code, just put in your dates, and then when you're looking through the rates, make sure that you're actually looking for that. And when you put in your dates, don't just put in one day. It's always worth putting in the full stay to get the proper price, because sometimes you think, oh, I'll just put in one day just to get the average price at that time when you're comparing, but actually put in the full dates, and then you will see whether there's one of these 20% offers. The other thing I will mention with Marriott is there's something called Marriott Escapes. Now this is a regular promotion that happens every week. It's Wednesday to Sunday booking, and it's for up to four weeks in advance on weekend stays only. There is a website which I will link below. It's not the same hotels every time, and it's not every hotel in Marriott. It's different ones, and it can vary. It can be, you know, something like the Gritty Palace, or it could be a Moxie somewhere. So there's no saying whether it's going to be a fantastic hotel, whether it's going to be luxury hotels, or even if the city you're going to is featured at all. As I said, it just varies. I'm guessing it's probably based on what they have the most inventory on and they want to get rid of it. But that's again 20 to 25% off. So a very decent saving if you're looking something a bit more last minute. And I'll link that, as I said, below. So that's it for all the hotel price offers. And if you have any tips that I've missed, please feel free to pop it in the comments below. But hopefully that's given you some ideas on how to save money.
Well, that's all from this week from a sunny Portugal. Join me next week, and until then, happy travels.